Alright guys, it's Friday and I'm waiting for my afternoon classes to start at school. And I thought I'd take this time to start my video on about some questions I had. I received an email. Very good questions and things that might be of interest to some people. I do have a list. I made a list of the questions so I can answer them. Hello kitty kitty. And the first one was he wanted to know, is Happy Pizza real? And what are the laws and things regarding marijuana use in Cambodia? This is a very good question. Yes, Happy Pizza places exist. There's at least 3 that I know of, just right down on Pub Street, and I'm sure there's many more in areas maybe I haven't been to or whatever. And a Happy Pizza is simply pizza where one of the toppings will be marijuana. That's all it means. They do exist. They're legal. You can go in there and have your fill and not have to worry about the police or anything like that. Marijuana in this part of the world has been used in traditional cooking for forever, for years. It's not considered a big deal. I mean, you're not going to see the police go raid grandma's farm in the country because she's growing marijuana next to her basil and tomatoes. Nothing like that. They use it mainly not to get high recreationally, and they don't really use it to add flavor to the food, but they consider it to be medicinal, and so they use it for that purpose in their food. So for locals, it's not illegal to have it. For foreigners, however, you should know that in Cambodia, marijuana is not legal. It is not legal. And you could find yourself in trouble if you are caught. But let me explain that while I would never encourage anybody to do anything against the law, especially in another country, there are many expats here who get high. They use marijuana, and it's not really a big deal because it's not like they're having a party with their friends and getting loud and rowdy, smoking weed in front of businesses and doing all that kind of thing. Doing it more low-key, just for themselves, recreationally, and it's all good. But here's a warning: if you choose to go that route instead of just going to a Happy Pizza place, be sure you can really trust the person you're purchasing it from. Sprite. Anywhere you go downtown or in the more touristy areas, you're going to have tuk-tuk drivers, and the first thing they'll ask is, "Tuk-tuk, sir?" And you might say no, and then they'll say, marijuana? Do you want marijuana? And that might be tempting, because you think, well, here's a gentleman in a tuk-tuk. He's sitting out front of a Happy Pizza place, which is okay. So I might as well grab a little something for the night, so I can go home and go to sleep. And that could be a huge mistake, because a lot of times, as soon as you make your purchase and walk away, the tuk-tuk driver will call his local police buddy. The policeman will roll up on you, and then you're going to have to pay a fine to get out of trouble and not go to jail. And the fine is usually, well, I won't say usually because I don't know for sure, but I've heard people say they're going to demand like $20. And as if that wasn't bad enough, they're also going to confiscate the marijuana that you just paid for, and then you just paid a fine for, and they're going to give it back to the tuk-tuk driver to do all over again with the next foreigner. And the reason for this is because it's a poor country, and the tuk-tuk driver gets a cut of whatever bribe you gave to the police officer. So there's always the eventuality that that will happen. And even if that's not the case, even if you bought it from somebody you trust, who smokes marijuana also, there's always that slight chance, because it's still illegal, that you could get busted. And if that happens, of course you will have to pay a bribe to get out of trouble. But it's generally, I'm from what I've heard, no more than $20. And of course everything's negotiable, so you might be able to talk them down, yeah, even lower, if that's the case. It's not considered a major crime here. But the police know, especially if you're new here, you might be intimidated by going to a Cambodian jail, and you should be. And to avoid that trouble, you will cough up some money. So I would say the status is semi-legal. For locals, not an issue. For foreigners, it's going to be an issue because of the money involved with bribes and everything. Let me walk you down to my school here. He also asked if it's safe for his kids to come over here and visit every once in a while. Is it safe for the kids? The answer is yes. Pick them up at the airport, or have somebody with them that you trust at the airport. Matter of fact, they'll probably be a little bit spoiled here. It's the truth. Khmer people love foreign babies, white babies. They will fawn over them. They will want to take pictures with them. They will want to pinch their, ruddy little cheeks, and they just adore them. So yeah, it's a perfectly safe, and that should not be an issue. Big water tank in the back here. This is the back of the school. People come here, some of the employees come here and hang out their clothes to dry. It's a perk, an added benefit. Then he wanted to know if he can extend his work visa with volunteering. And again, that has a lot of in and outs. It's the little play area here for the kids during break time. That does have a lot of in and outs, but the short answer is yes. If you're volunteering, you'll be going to an NGO, non-government operation. Non-profit is what we would call it in the West. And it's up to you, though, to decide which non-profit to work for, because you want to be sure the NGO that you volunteer for is registered with the government, because you will have to get your EB visa, and to do that you will need a letter from your place of employment or your volunteer agency, organization, Hello. And if they're not registered, your letter will not have the stamp of approval, and that means you will not be able to extend, and you will not be able to get a work permit, and that could cause you problems with immigration. You will have to ask whatever NGO you decide, and I would do a lot of research on that before picking one. But you would have to talk to them and make sure that they have the proper documentation in order that will allow you to extend your work visa, your EB visa. And of course, having an EB means you will still have to get a work permit, even though you might not be technically working for money. volunteering is still considered work, and you will need a work permit in most cases, which means you'll have to get the physical, your commune letter for your residency confirmation, and of course your letter, and obviously the money for all that. So, but yes, you can, if you're volunteering, extend your work visa on that. And then he wanted to know about how bribes work, getting out of trouble, the whole corruption thing. And yes, it's a well-known fact, and nobody's going to say otherwise. Not anybody that knows anyway. Nobody's going to say that it's not corrupt here, because it is. Almost everything you do here as a foreigner is going to have a price if it's deemed illegal or not correct. Usually just a couple bucks, $5, maybe $10 for a traffic violation. You're riding a moto without a helmet, and even though everybody else may be also, you're the only foreigner, so you're the one that got pulled over. Yeah, you'll have to pay a fine, so it's not a big problem. I like to say this though, if your country has a government, you are dealing with corruption. It's just more open here for what it is. Country may be legalized corruption, but it's still corruption. Driver's licenses, registration. If you think about it, that's a little corrupt. And all the fees attached to it. Gas prices are corrupt. Without everybody taking a cut of the production process to get from the oil fields into your gas tank, it would be very easy to keep gasoline below the price of $1 a gallon. But because of all the taxes and all the fees and the distribution charges, and of course the gas stations want their cut, it's just crazy. But I'm not going to get into all that debate. The fact is, yes, it's corrupt, and yes, as a foreigner, you'll be expected to pay bribes every now and again to get things done. On the other hand, I see that as kind of a good thing, because even though you will be paying bribes for certain things, certain favors, they will be much lower than if you did it the legal way back in like the United States. Much, much cheaper. So while I don't endorse corruption, generally speaking, you can get things done here if you want to, if you know the right person to pay and the amount to pay, a certain amount to pay. Again, I'm not encouraging anybody to do anything illegal or that's not above board. But in this country, cash is king, and a lot of things can be accomplished if you have the cash to do it. And like I said, not even a lot of cash. You know, to most people here, you know, a $20 bill is huge. It's a good thing. Whereas the same thing back home might cost you thousands of dollars to get it done. So yeah, bribes are here, but it's usually not a big, huge deal, because you know he's going to ask for a bribe. He knows he's going to ask for a bribe, and you're kind of playing this out with a little wink and a nod to each other without actually using the word bribe, if you know what I mean. Just smile, nod, negotiate how much you want to give, and agree on a price, just as if you were buying something from one of the markets. That's just the way it works a lot of times here. And let me see, I think there was one more question. I can't quite remember it. I did write it down. Oh, yes. I just almost dropped my phone. Yes, want to know if expats are easy to meet, if it's easy to make friends over here. Myself and Cambodia channel, Bill, my buddy Bill, we both touched on this. A lot of people do not like to make friends here, like close, personal, tight-knit friends, because it is kind of a transient sort of place to be. People will come, maybe for a few months, maybe for a year, but after a while, a lot of them will just leave. They're either going to travel somewhere else, or they're just going back home for whatever reason. So you never really become like close friends. Like back in the States, you can know somebody from kindergarten, and they could be your best friend all the way through college and maybe into adulthood. That's not unheard of, right? Matter of fact, it might be pretty common in some areas. But here, that won't happen as a foreigner, because of course you didn't grow up here. You didn't make those connections. You're just meeting other people who for some reason have decided to wander into this lovely country. But it doesn't mean they're going to stay. Now, that being said, it's really easy to make friends here. They just won't be as close as you might consider friends back in the West. But you will make friends, people you want to hang out with all the time. You'll go do things with. They'll support you. They'll help you out if you need it. People to talk to, hang out with, have a beer or two, get some dinner, all that kind of thing. So while some expats are kind of more jaded than others and will say things like, I don't make friends here, I just refuse to be friendly because they're going to leave anyway, I'm more of the opposite mindset. I will easily make friends just by being nice and talking to people and being myself. And then people choose to either accept me as I am or they don't, and either way is fine. Because for everyone that don't, I'll find 5 more that will. So I hope that helps a little bit. He also wanted to know about things I could tell him, things I wish I knew before I came here. And that would take up a whole nother video by itself, so I'll save that one for another time. Because no matter how much I researched and Googled things before I came here, there was a lot of questions I had that went unanswered. And I had to find out the hard way just by showing up and experiencing these things. But it's okay. Sometimes when you get that kind of experience, it's a lot better than knowing everything beforehand, because then there's no surprises left. And what's the point in traveling if you're not going to have a surprise now and again? But that answers all the major questions he asked. Like I said, those are great questions. I think sometimes people might be asking the same thing and just not knowing how to put it, especially when it comes to something like marijuana, which is demonized in the West, People may not want to get online and go, hey dude, what's the pot situation like? So I appreciate that kind of honesty. Now, I don't smoke marijuana. I haven't for many, many years. And I certainly haven't over here. But it's a fairly commonly known thing of how it works. So everything I told you, I think you could ask anybody else and they will tell you the same thing. All right, that'll do it for this one. My class at school is about to start. I see the kids are already, as you could see earlier, inside, and I have to go prepare. So I will talk to you guys in the next one.